it will occupy my entire screen, so I cannot see anyone.
Yeah.
So welcome, everyone. I'm so excited. I know that many of you missed our symposium last time, although a video was shared with all of you. And truly, tonight it's a continuation of the discussion that we were having last time. And it is about actually the otherness. We were discussing, if you remember in our previous symposium, the idea that who I am and my totality has an impact in the way that I relate to others, meaning that in the way that I serve others, in the way that I connect with others, can only come true if I can only come true and can only manifest through my own self. So hence the idea in the term of self-awareness. So we also discussed that through self-awareness, we begin actually identifying who we are, if we begin identifying our very own otherness and how we share that otherness with others, to many others, right, in the world. I also share with you that in the way and in the sense that I was using the word otherness has no political meaning added to it. You will probably find out in any text or any critical theory addressing of the otherness as a term that had been used to identify the oppressive forces of the majority groups out there, or the groups that are in power. In the sense that I'm using the word otherness is more related to what's contained within you and what's contained within the individual that you are serving. If you remember in our last symposium, we also discussed the idea that my values, my culture, my intersectionality comes actually handy to create a particular way of relating to others. Tonight, what I would like to do is to begin focusing about the other, meaning what? So that we begin understanding that part of our work as a human service provider, or even as a future counselor, or substance abuse counselor, or behavioral technician, takes in consideration the idea that you must actually begin understanding the others through openness, through cultural awareness, through cultural sensitivity, so that we begin serving them in the best way we can. So part of this presentation will also engage into understanding that if we don't do that, we may face risks of creating microaggressions. Microaggressions will be discussed as well. Will we begin encountering what type of microaggressions are there and what are most likely encountered when we are serving individuals, especially in the work that we do as a social service provider or a human service provider. We always interacting with other human beings, and we are always impacting them one way or in another. So part of our work tonight will has um, uh, a dynamic way of looking at it. It's a supplement from previous discussions. So it goes hand by hand with our previous symposium. So if you haven't watched the first one, I will highly recommend you to go back to the recording, take a look at it. It's not an intense and abstractly constructed symposium. It's easy to access so that we begin understanding the most simplistic way of interacting with another human being. It's by nature, or by its very nature, begins with you. Understanding you will open up the door to begin understanding the others. Now, it becomes a little challenging because if we are accustomed to only take a look our worldview, what manifests itself is a barrier in communicating with the other. Meaning what? If I impose my values or what I believe on into others, I'm closing the communication to begin understanding what the other's needs are. And in the field that all of you are, including Mr. Sida and myself, it's about supporting others. It's no longer about you. It's the other what truly matters. That doesn't mean, though, that you don't matter. But the work that you do with yourself is an independent work that can be accompanied by your supervisor, your professors, your therapist, anyone that you can actually that can actually support you in developing who you are. Okay, so let me move forward. Before I begin, any initial questions? No initial questions? Awesome. Okay. So as I was sharing, our focus tonight will be the otherness. You, I, and everyone else here, it's actually what we saw last time. We are going to be focusing on the other tonight, our entire focus. Thus, it is similar in the idea that we begin understanding what the other may possess as it relates to understanding ourselves, but it changes in the idea of how we can impact the other if we don't do the work. Okay. So very similar to what we have discussed previously, the otherness is also composed by questions, by families, by background. So the question of who they are, the question of what they believe in, the questions of what are the stands on particular topics in the society, comes actually handy because it allows us as a service providers to begin understanding, can I actually, or is it that I'm willing to understand what they believe on? Or can I even imagine myself thinking how these individuals think and position my worldview into his or hers or theirs? So imagine for a second someone telling you, well, I'm Catholic or I'm Christian and I don't believe that gay marriage should exist. And they come for services to you, a activist and a firm believer of equal rights. You are then challenged into begin understanding, what do I do with this individual that has different beliefs on or has a particular standpoint on a particular topic in the society, specifically a topic that is very touching to me, that is so close to me that I can be active and reactive towards this positionality that the individual is bringing in. That's a very interesting way of begin describing how the other values, how the other world views, how the other positionality in our society can trigger us. And of course, the question of what do I do then when someone comes for services and positions themselves with these ideas to which I am completely opposed. This is when the work of understanding the other begins. And we will go into it. So begin understanding even the idea of what do they think we do in mental health? How do they define their well-being? We, all of us here, have a particular way of defining well-being. And that definition of well-being, whether it's mental, physical, or psychological well-being, is defined based on your own rearing experiences, in your own cultural values, in your own family ways of describing health. We are influenced without any questions about the way we see particular concepts. The same questions are valid for the client or whoever you are serving. How do they see their mental health? And the reason why I posted it in a question of how do they see it is because this is how we develop curiosity. At the face of having a challenge of values conflicts, meaning the client's values of worldview and mine, at the face of the challenge, what is left to do is your curiosity. How do they live that type of life? What is like to be actually in the body of someone in front of me saying, gay marriage should be abolished? I want to understand that position. How does it look like? How does it feel like? And when we begin enacting curiosity, what is happening is that you are opening yourself to understand the other in front of you. That, as a matter of fact, in that dynamic, they are seeking services from you. And when I say seeking services, it could be case management services, it could be substance abuse services, it could be behavioral modification services, it could be actually completing the domestic violence forms, it could be actually completing your Medicaid forms or your food stamps forms that you are supporting others, quote unquote, case management services, right? All that is actually providing services. Imagine that you as a case manager or even a clinical case manager are actually faced with an individual that believes that, particular topics are not of consideration, whether it's gay marriage, whether political parties, whether our religious view or spiritual views, and all of those topics that may be in opposition to ours, because when they are not, it's easy to work with individuals. We can immediately relate. The challenge is when we are into two different extremes. What is there left to do? Your curiosity. How is it like to actually have that view on the world? So, of course, as important as it is the family unit that from where you are coming from. The idea that everything that you are, it's formulated based on your experiences and everything that has been given to you, from your teachers, from your family, from your dad, from your mom, the relationship that you have with your siblings, everything formulates a particular structure to begin constructing your entity as you continue growing and growing. All that comes handy to you because that's the way you relate to others. And imagine that it is difficult already for you, how difficult it will be for the other individual that maybe didn't have the opportunity to explore these topics. At least you have had the opportunity to expose yourself to the opportunity to be willing and open to see the others' manifestation of themselves. The last one, and even though it appears to be a cliche, because of course we know the culture and background has an influence on how we act and interact. Now imagine yourselves as a service providers. Have you ever thought about particular groups that you don't want to work with? Have you ever thought about particular backgrounds or ethnic backgrounds that do you have a particular thought about it? Stereotypes, biases. And if you do, imagine what they think about you when they work with you, when they see you, that you perhaps have an accent. So how can this guy actually, talking about me, of course, how can he actually help me to complete any paperwork? He has accent. I'm wondering if he knows how to write English anyway. There's always judgment. We, as a service provider, our goal is not to criticize, but actually expand our ability to accept the other. Yeah, I can continue providing services. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to reach a point where it is disrespectful, that I will never encourage no one to just remain there as a passive agent of an activity, because remember that you are also an important part of the dynamic with another human being. And oftentimes, if it is needed, you can set up boundaries, not a problem. But if you can actually see beyond what is happening, beyond their very own criticism that maybe they are offering to you, what you do is the expansion of acceptance that the other has a complete different worldview than you. Okay? And nonetheless to say, but we all have our experiences. We don't know where they are coming from. We don't know who they worked with before. We don't know their battles. We don't know what they have actually faced through all these years until they reach you as a next step for the support that they are looking for. So yes, indeed, I'm calling on to the kindness to begin understanding that the suffering that any human being goes through, we don't know them until we begin actually asking questions. And with curiosity and kindness, begin approaching the pain of other people. So keep that in mind as a way of beginning understanding that the otherness is a complete entity that possesses their very own views, beliefs, cultural backgrounds, and systematic ways of looking at life. Indeed, Victorian, maybe they didn't get the opportunity to explore particular beliefs. Yes, and you do. This is the difference between someone that has the opportunity. Actually, as a matter of fact, we are all privileged at this moment. You have the privilege to be in college. You have the privilege to be actually in a Zoom meeting, forcefully or not, but you are here because we are learning. Many people don't get that opportunity.
Yeah, Dr. Wentz, this is such a timely discussion, considering what you see in popular media and social media well, rather than often when I see exchanges, if someone signals a particular point of view or perspective and someone holds the other, rather than as you're suggesting, exploring and getting to kind of an expansive understanding of who that person might be, regardless of what their point of view they're expressing to you or signaling to you, we just see the attitude is, oh, this person is my adversary, and I now must respond as their adversary, and they take the same the opposing view. And what you'll realize is throughout time, not just in our own time, there's always been these opposites of attitude, beliefs, perspectives, ways of being. And it's just like if you're playing tennis, you've got somebody on the other side of the court. And you're both going at it with great fun and excitement, trying to win. But if you lose that spirit of congeniality, of fun, you can really devolve into this debasing way of interacting with people, and it really only serves to debase yourself. So I can see how important a topic like this is in the kind of climate we live in.
And so, in and of itself, beginning understanding that the other has the right to be who they are, and you have the right to be who you are, and engaging into a dialogue that allows you to understand the other. And why do I actually give you the responsibility more than the other? Because this is why you are getting prepared. This is why you are getting educated. This is why you are getting the opportunity to understand yourselves more than the other. As you get to know yourself more, so that the level of responsibility you have on the other increases. Why? Because you're learning about you. They don't. Or maybe they do, whichever the case may be. But when they do, you can taste it, you can notice it, that they are aware what they are doing. So great. Then how do we recognize the other? What can we do as a service provider to encounter the other's essence? And of course, when I was thinking about this question of what can I do actually to encounter the other, and not only the other, but their very own essence, then I begin questioning myself. So in order for me to recognize the other and to serve the other and to respect the other, how can I actually allow myself to see through their eyeglasses, but remain with my own values and what I believe on? That's hard to do. You get challenged, you get pushed, you get oftentimes insult as well. Why not? But the idea is that you remain centered with you because you know you. You know what you believe in. The only thing that you are doing is attempting to open yourself to understand the other, to get closer and closer to the essence that they are offering you. You don't have to eliminate who you are. Quite the contrary, when you know who you are, it is very hard that you get pushed to any side. You remain neutral. You don't get offended. You actually, kind of the contrary, you feel more kinder than necessary when you see that others are being active and they are offensive and they try to accuse you and they try to actually create problems for you. You actually raise, I love this metaphor, you raise like an eagle and begin seeing what's happening to them. Why is that? Because you got to understand who you are. And that you are working in any type of biases and stereotypes that you hold within you constantly. Can you impose your beliefs on other people? Yes, you can, especially when people are fragile, when they are emotionally weak and they come to you for help. The level of influence you have on an individual is remarkably powerful. Our goal is not to impose our beliefs on other people. This doesn't mean, though, that your sole presence cannot influence them. They can, but they need to do it freely, autonomously.
And this is
Okay.
why, through all of our education and training and the licensure process, we're always reiterating the ethical guidelines, the boundaries that we impose on ourselves to maintain the well-being of the folks that we serve, because we can inadvertently do it. It happens all the time. If you go to any of the board meetings, the Board of Examiner meetings for licensed professionals, you'll see no small measure of ethical violations related to, you know, professionals using their authority in a way that it is not meant to, and it invalidates the autonomy, as Dr. Wentz was saying, and also is not considered of the vulnerability. This is why we can't have dual relationships with our clients, because they're in a vulnerable state. You have to ask yourself too, why would I want to engage in a romantic relationship, or otherwise, other than a professional relationship, with somebody who is seeking services and is presenting with some serious concerns? That speaks, and that's a question you want to ask yourself.
Absolutely. And also, Mr. Sida, you just remind me, remember there are ethical codes and somewhere, some part, whatever board you are aligned to, whether it's the counselor or the human service or the criminal justice board or the social worker job, or even the EPA, the psychology board, they all depart from the moral stand. We don't do maleficence. We always help people. Our goal is not to hurt them. So we are always constantly watching that as the first moral principle. The second is we respect their autonomy for decision making. We respect them. They are humans. We need to see their humanity. So when you begin actually understanding that, when you explore yourself, when you begin understanding what you don't like, what you believe on, or what are the limitations of your beliefs, or what are the biases that you still hold, or what are your preferences, or even your intersectionality, what you begin doing is actually shedding light into your totality. And to be fair, it's an ongoing process that will never stop because we continue developing ourselves in any given point of our lives. And so whoever we were an hour ago, we are a totally different individual now. Our cells are are disappearing in our body by 1,000 and billions of cells every second. They die and we get new ones. So we create new ways of thinking, new ways of believing, new strategies in our mind. So I guess the entire goal is for you to begin understanding that there is a self that belongs to you, and then there is a self that belongs to another human being. You, because you hold the higher responsibility because of the field, or even because the awareness that you have are hold higher stand. Your responsibility is higher. Okay. So yes, you can impose your beliefs into others. What happens when we do that? What can we create when we impose who we are into the other person? So before we go into this idea, I want to remind everyone, you probably have seen this concept previously, but I wanted to touch that. The intersectionality that I am always referring to is this concept that we are multiple, uh, our multiple qualities and our multiple elements crosses who we are. Your religion, your income, your sexual orientation, your age, your disability, your sex, your gender, all that composes who you are, and we all have it. What is truly valuable is if you wish and if you want to, is that you engage into this process of recognizing who are we? Who are you? And that was the emphasis in our last symposium. All this intersectionality can come handy when you utilize a beautiful term created in psychology, when you engage into self-awareness. And as you probably hear me saying last time, this self-awareness is much more complex than just the idea of getting to know who you are. It includes your needs, your emotions, your sentiments, your feelings, your appetites, your desires, your dreams, your limiting beliefs, your biases, your hates, your loves. Everything that encompasses your persona is your totality. And none of those parts is greater than any of the others. All are important. Imagine this level of complexity in attempting to understand the other. You as a human being in front of someone helping, thinking, you are also a possessor of all those qualities: race, gender, education, religion, ethnicity, language, geography. Where are you coming from? What is your background? And the you as a processor of information, it sounded very dry when I say processor of information, but truly we are a processor of information. So you are actually called and held responsible for untangling all that to get closer to the experience of the other. What do they need? What are they coming to you for? Or they are looking for services. What do you offer? Well, I am a case manager, so I do everything. What does that mean? Well, I can help you with housing. I can help you with applying. I can help you with money management. I can help you with advocating with a psychiatrist or even thinking about Social Security. I can go with you. I can do it all. For what purpose? Is it helping the other? Are you noticing that you help others more than other type of groups of people? And if you saw, why? Are you different when you see someone, perhaps a Latino or African American, or someone that is disabled, or someone that you know has a substance abuse experiences? Do you act differently when you support people? Because their experiences contain their intersectionality. That now comes handy to you. What do you do with all that, right? So when we impose our values, we risk a lot. Oh, before I do that, I have a little kind of a activity that I want to do with everyone. I know it's very difficult to carry it on in this setting, but I wanted to try it. So if you are actually facing your camera and you are watching the presentation or seeing it, thinking about the intersectionality and our ability to actually see what is in front of us. There is a picture that I took a long time ago in one of my trips to some part in the world. And I wanted to utilize that because I want to begin asking you, what do you think about the picture? Give me elements of that individual. How does it look like to you? Is a she? Is a he? What is it? Um, Language, perhaps? Or do you think she speaks or he speaks or they speak? What do you think? You can write it on the chat if you want to. Ah, okay. So I'm gonna begin writing, okay? Just put it there for everyone. If it allows me to write. Mm-hmm. Speak Spanish, okay. Ah, this is nice. Perhaps from South America. Guatemala. Oh, okay. Someone it's more specific. Uh-huh. Native. Okay. Oops, sorry. Oops. I'm gonna go back. Ah. Hispanic, Pacific Islander. Woman who holds wisdom. Oh, that's a beautiful one. I'm just gonna write it. Older generation. Ah. Spiritual. Ah. Connected to their culture, traditional. She's thoughtful. Ah, a small community. Ah. Speaks another language. A woman who is worth of love. Strong, proud. Language, Spanish and Mixteco. Okay. So now I'm gonna challenge everyone. Gender. Come on. Gender, sex. She, her, oh, woman, female, Latina, which is a she, woman, female, female, she, lady, female, woman, she, So let me uncover to you, features of female. Oh, this is a beautiful one. I'm gonna go back a little. Female because of her features and clothing. Beautiful. Female, woman, beautiful. I will assume she is, he, they will share that with me if it is important. Okay, I will say she based on physical features. Beautiful. So I'm going to share with you characteristics of this individual. She's Mexican, of course, from indigenous culture. She's a non-binary individual. She is part of the Muxe culture in Oaxaca. So a Muxe in this particular part of Mexico are individuals that are not female or male. If you think that the non-binary term came as in a postmodern era, long time ago, indigenous people were practicing this already. No female or male at all. Now, if I can get technical, they are actually a blessing in their town. If a family gets a mushe born baby, guess what happens? They are blessed by God. And for this individual, God is the earth, the plants. And guess what? She has a master's degree. Ooh, and she's 35. She's married, and of course, she speaks Spanish in her native language. Now what? Why did I want it actually showing this to you? Because we can very easily be misled by our own eyes. The clothing, it's linked to our very own definition of what a female is. But truly, the huipil, which is the first cloth that you see on top of her, is her native clothing. Has nothing to do with gender. It's just what they used and wear. Typical, part of the community. A different sense of what they belong to. A different meaning that they give to the clothing more than the gender or sex. Okay, so I want us to do a couple examples and you tell me, okay? How about this one? Native, farmer, Native America, grandma, okay. Ah, someone there to say it. Older, wisdom, degree in agriculture, hardworking, gender, anyone? Uh-huh, uh-huh. Mhm. Mhm. They. Uh-huh. Um, um, Geographical area. Reservation. Oh, South America. Um, Beautiful. I want us to focus a little bit into the idea that we all have a structure in our mind that as soon as we see an image, we immediately connect to that image and we take the resource we have internally to begin describing that individual. Uh, in the previous example or even in this example, I keep using the word she as a pronoun. This has to do with two things that happens to me when I'm actually speaking. One is that the easiness of my code switching from one language to another goes to default to the third person she, but it's not because I'm gendering the individual. This is just me. When I actually become aware of it, I retract myself and correct myself. So I'm still human, just like everyone here. Um, so yes, I have made mistakes when I work with clients. And yes, they have corrected me many, many times. We are not free from it. So great that as you continue listening to me, great that as you continue noticing that I gender the individual, that you become aware that, hey, even someone with experience can make the mistake. There is a huge difference between intentionally attempting to hurt the individual and unintentionally committing the mistakes. What we do when that happens, we quickly apologize to the individual and attempt to correct ourselves. We do it intentionally. So yes, it's the first one was non-binary, and verbally I continue calling her she. So, and even now, did you notice that? So, but it's not intentionally. I think it's just my code switching from one language to another. Mhm.
I think
So
it's also important for students to understand, our audience here tonight, that Spanish, the nouns are gendered, and that isn't the same in English. So Gerardo's a native Spanish speaker. My parents were born in Mexico, but Spanish is my second language, even though my heritage is from Mexico. So that is very common. So and I'll tell you, I misgender nouns all the time, because even when they're not attached to an individual, they're gendered, just as part of the language. So when I go to Mexico and speak Spanish, people will kind of grin at some of the things that I say, because I'm referring to a gendered noun in the masculine, which is traditionally feminine, and so there's thousands and thousands of words, so it can be challenging.
very indeed. So, what a beautiful teachable moment for everyone, because this is truly what happens in real life. We work with individuals and they prefer some pronouns and we make the mistake. So one of the things that I usually do, and it has helped me a lot, is that because of the positive and strong relationship that I hold with my clients, these mistakes are not impactful enough to break the relationship or to create conflicts. Instead, it becomes almost like a humorous mistake that can only can only be overcome due to the relationship that you build up with your client or the persons that you help. And indeed, Berenice, this is why cultural competency is absolutely a must in the field that we are in. And I know we have social workers and behavioral analysts and teachers and criminal justice, substance abuse students, and human services students as well. So how important it is to observe that. So for this example, it's from the Navajo. So I think it was, I can't recall who actually named it, but indeed it's Navajo, indigenous female. Earth nature continues to be the god. It's agriculture. Of course, she's 60, married, and it's in English and Navajo language. She doesn't speak Spanish at all. So uh, a part of this exercise is for us to begin understanding, how do I see the other? Well, you see the other through yourself. And how do we truly begin seeing the other? Indeed, Gray. Once that's what I mentioned at the beginning. When your intentionality is actually to hurt people, then misusing the pronouns, it's hurtful. So indeed, like I said, when it's intentionally done, it can be a microaggression for sure. Um, so you begin seeing the other through your own eyes, through your own experiences, through your own knowledge, through your own information. The only way of seeing the other truly is through curiosity and asking questions all the time. So our keyword for this symposium is blue, yellow, purple. Don't forget that, everyone. Our keywords that you need to submit for your assignment is blue, yellow, purple. Victorian, to be widely curious. Indeed. Well, I will ask what widely means to you because bombarding individuals with questions can also be deterrent for them to open up. So you got to masterfully ask the open-ended questions that will get you to where you want to get with that specific individual. But indeed, curiosity, it's a key element in everything we do. So now, what happens when we begin actually understanding the other based in our own otherness? What do we face? What happens, we create microaggressions. And this is actually the second part of the symposiums that I would like to engage on. The microaggressions, the types of microaggressions, and we are going to begin engaging in identifying which ones they are. Now, you will notice that in this time or in this part of the symposium, I'm not going to spend time in exploring the unconscious or conscious microaggressions. In any of them, you are responsible for trying to diffuse them as much as you can, whether they are conscious or whether they are unconscious. So you are always responsible. So microaggressions, in a short exercise, put a keyword in the text that you will utilize to describe a microaggression. In other words, what is a microaggression? But don't give a sentence, just a word that signifies what it is to you. Very rude. Dismissal, judgment, subtle unacceptance, lures, passive aggressive, discreet, malicious, ignorant, judgment, passive aggressive, discrimination, everyday life, MC, everyday life, microaggressions, everyday life. We need to think about that. Lying, unacceptable, inner rage. So I want to ask everyone, prejudice, annoyed. I want to ask everyone, how come you know those words? How do you experience, have you ever experienced those? Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. Mhm. So this actually becomes even more interesting because this begins it begins actually providing us with the idea that we connect to the other in a universal experience of pain, of being discriminated, of being offended, of being insulted, of being judged. We all have experienced it. How come then, if we have experienced it, there have been moments where we have created those microaggressions? What happens to us? Ignorance will be one. Thank you, Joshua. What else? By the way, Joshua, so that beautiful one gets diffused by our training, right? This is why we always getting the information. So your responsibility to catch them, it's higher and higher every day. Often mutual disregard. People wants to share their pain. So what types of microaggressions we can create? There you go. Thank you. Thank you indeed. Own biases, big or small. Yes. Yes to all of that. Yes. Projection, frustration, all of that. What type of microaggressions can we encounter? Micro insults. Those are the most subtle and oftentimes unconscious insults that we can actually commit towards people that either we are servicing or that we hold a relationship with. Ascription of intelligence. How does that look like to you? When we say, well, that's a micro insult and is related to the intelligence. The stereotyping. I had a client once, as an example of a ascription of intelligence, that told me, how can you help me if you don't even know how to pronounce a word in English? That was an assumption of my intelligence that I was not ready and prepared to help the individual. Assuming that specific groups don't have the intelligence to be in college. Ascription of intelligence is a micro insult. Second-class citizen. Those that live in the favela are bad. They're second-class. Do you think the favelas only exist in Brazil? I don't remember the name of it in India. How are they called? I can't remember. We have favelas in United States. We do. And when we begin thinking about the geographical area that the individuals are located, we begin actually categorizing them in a different level of classes. I remember when I was living in Chicago. I don't know if any of you are from Chicago, but the south side of Chicago is a bad, bad, bad neighborhood. You don't go there. That's what they said. I mean, I went there a couple of times and nothing happens to me. But the idea is we have a preconceived notion of if you go there in that specific area, that's where so-and-so lives. So we don't go there. Pre-inscribed biases. Pathologizing cultures and values. Oh, there you go, Chris. Basically part of North Las Vegas, and it's very biased because North Las Vegas is beautiful. Very beautiful, noticing. Dangerous equals to poverty. Pathologizing cultures. If you there was when I work in the school systems, I work in a particular year of my career there. Um, a particular psychologist got in trouble because this individual was diagnosing African American students as with oppositional defiant disorder. All of them. That was crazy. Of course, this particular psychology got caught because you cannot possibly only diagnose African American with oppositional defiant disorders. We pathologize the group, the culture. And you know what happens when we begin pathologizing specific groups? We don't give them the service. Why would I make an effort if they are like that anyway? So we don't give our best to them. Then, of course, it comes handy when we begin thinking, oh, specific groups are criminals. If you have a specific skin, a specific eye color, a specific hair, you're a criminal. I'm actually going to challenge you. Have you ever been walking on the street and suddenly someone that you think is dangerous crosses your path? Don't you move? Think about it. We live this daily. And it doesn't mean that they are criminals. We hold that as stereotype and biases. And to be fair, you know, this was not created by you. It has been injected by society, has been injected by societal beliefs. Our work now is to begin clearing that up. Micro assaults, direct insults, racial assaults, insults, invalidations. Micro invalidations gets their very own category because it's when we begin making feel other people that they don't belong here. Color blindness. I love when actually you meet colleagues and they say, I don't see color. Oh, come on now. Isn't that the greatest of all? It's actually invalidating. It's actually saying, oh, nothing that you're saying is happening because I don't see color. How could you see color? We invalidate the experience of the individual, and it could be unconscious. We can be doing this unconscious. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The meritocracy, the idea that this makes me think about what's the name of I was trying to remember. She's very famous in TikTok she's an African American that says that racism doesn't exist, that it's all an ideology created. I can't recall her name. Is it Candice? Yeah, indeed, Sebastian. Candice Owens. The idea that race has nothing to do with whatever is happening to you. We invalidate. It's kind of a saying, racism doesn't exist. Oh, come on. It does. It hurts people on a daily basis. Then, and it goes hand in hand with the denial of individual racism. It doesn't exist. This can all be manifested. And I think this is the most important thing I can say of all this. This can manifest if you don't become aware of yourself, of your own biases, of your own experiences, of your intersectionality. And as you continue, of course, getting into your master's degree and getting into see clients in professional roles, you can truly see when an individual is in a lower level of development of the persona. And when they are elevated, they can handle cases of, okay, you believe in Trump, I don't, so come in. Nothing is going to happen. You can see them working with clients that offend them and say, okay, I don't know why I'm here. You are a Latino with an accent, and I don't know why I'm here. And then they continue working with you. because you know who you are and what you can offer. So you don't engage into creating micro insults or micro invalidations or even micro assaults.
Yeah, it's important that what you're saying, Dr. Wentz, that we don't have to reflect other people's aggression, that we can notice it, observe it, and take the attitude of the observer rather than the victim of their insults, because we know who we are. I'll tell you personally, when I worked for individuals that, for my background, sometimes it's because I'm male, sometimes because I'm Hispanic, sometimes, well, we used to be, I was too young, now I'm too old. Um, and so, but what I learned was to stay true to the maximum that that is my mantra, that I am here to help all. Whatever your background is, if I can be of service to you, I will, and to the best of my abilities. And that gave me a sense of integrity and pride that cannot be tarnished by other people's understandings of the way they see me. And I think you mentioned the word trigger. Of course, we all have triggers, but that doesn't mean that we're not responsible for our reactions. I use the idea of a trigger to monitor myself, my internal reactions, my emotional affect, and to regulate myself and to center myself so I can still be effective. It doesn't mean I don't have feelings or experiences, but in that moment, I'm observing myself. So it gives me control and agency over myself rather than you triggered me and now I have no choice but to react to you, because that puts you in a position of becoming the puppet to a puppet master that is not yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Sida. Indeed. So that leaves me with one question. What in the world can we do when this happens to us? When we suddenly discover that indeed we are creating microaggressions and that we are insulting people, subtle insults. What do we do? As future service providers, you got to continue developing yourself. What does that mean? Go to trainings, develop cultural appreciation. And when I say develop cultural appreciation, I don't mean only cultures. I also mean, individuals with experience of disability, individuals with substance abuse experiences, individuals with any challenge. You can develop your cultural ability to link with individuals and develop your sensitivity and awareness about that particular situation. So cultural sensitivity and appreciation, it's a big and broad term that encapsulates all the intersectionalities. Consult with your supervisor, with your teacher, with your professor, with your peers. Educate yourselves. That's a must. Travel. That's my favorite one. You travel and encounter other cultures. You begin placing yourself into situations that makes you feel uncomfortable so that you can feel how others feel. That happens to me when I traveled to Greece. Everything was in Greek, of course, and here is me trying to utilize all my resources of French, Spanish, Italian, and nothing worked because it was out of my system. Nothing I could relate to. I was lost. And it felt great because for the first time I was like, oh, shoot, I cannot do anything. Then I was left with the experience of it's so uncomfortable. And I know how to take the train, how to buy the ticket, or even going into the supermarket, because of course I did, and just handing the money without saying a word and giving enough euros so that they would just give me the change. So always expose yourself whenever there is an opportunity. Expose yourself to the cultural diversity and the richness of your town and your community. Can be as simple as go to different restaurants. See what is in North Las Vegas. Maybe there are delicious restaurants out there. Don't limit yourself to Summerlin, to those Anthem and all those beautiful areas because you think they are not dangerous. I think the news has proven us wrong in that, don't they? So you got to begin exposing yourself to more level of uncomfortableness, and even if you feel uncomfortable. See how it feels. See how it feels to walk on the sidewalk and not move yourself because part of you is saying, move, move. He's going to attack you or she's going to attack you. He's going to rob you or she's going to rob you. Don't move. See how it feels. Of course, don't do that at 1 o'clock in the morning. Come on now. Okay, be careful as well. Not just not just expose yourself in those ways. Okay. So another one that I always recommend to everyone: therapy never hurts no one. Come on, explore yourselves. See what's inside. See what are the deepest feelings, desires, emotions that you carry. Oh, it's always helpful. And as I said the other day, I am because you are. Without you as students, I wouldn't be a professor. So keep it up. Without you, the other doesn't exist. Without the other, you don't exist. We are all related. We are all interconnected. All the time. Anytime. Okay. Questions. So as a way of finalizing, any final questions? Thoughts?
Thank you, Dr. Wentz, for a really in-depth and timely presentation. I think this information really serves us not only as we approach our careers, but throughout the timeline of our careers. I think about how this topic has changed over since my training, and until now it keeps evolving. So I really appreciate you sharing this lecture this evening.
Beautiful. So there is one request I have for everyone. Before we call it for the night and you practice self-care with you and your loved ones, write a sentence, not a sentence, write a word of what you are taking with you tonight from the presentation in the chat. Just a word.
I'm touched by all the words of the positivity and a group such as ourselves, gathering together to have these thoughtful discussion bodes well for our society. As much as we see out there in the world it doesn't seem right or wish we could change, we're doing it, we're acting it right now in this moment, and informing each other, sharing our experience, being kind, respectful, understanding our own humanness has a profound impact on the experiences that we take out of this kind of classroom setting into the world and with your clients.
Absolutely, and it's so beautiful to read you guys, even if I'm just skimming through. If you really, really pay attention, we are always connected. This is why you are in human services. This is why you will be a future counselors. This is why you are in criminal justice, social workers, whoever you are, whatever career. There are always elements that unite us. And I can tell you, humanity, empathy, openness, otherness, compassion, all are common threads in what you're sharing with me at the end. So I'm glad that we continue having these discussions. I'm glad that we are continuing developing ourselves and that we have this space to share who we are, what we think, and what do we want to do in the future for the others. So keep up the great work. Continue taking care of yourselves. And I will see you then in class.
I have a few announcements before we wrap up, Dr. Wentz. You guys, can you see my screen share?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll be holding becoming a therapist Zoom meeting on March 27th. That's next Wednesday at the same time.
see your Google engine search. I don't.
Sorry?
Are you showing any other?
Oh, I'm trying to share my, hold on, let me go back to it. How's that? Can you see that PDF?
No, I'm seeing your Google search.
Can you, oh, that's yours, Dr. Wentz.
Am I sharing that?
Yeah,
I don't.
stop. Yeah, you can stop your share and then I'll start mine.
How? I stopped.
Okay, hold
It,
on. I'll take it back.
let's see. Ah, okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so here's, I have put these in the in some the course announcements, but I'll copy the links here. So this is for the becoming a therapist on Wednesday. So if you're interested in becoming a mental health provider from the different disciplines, it could be social work, marriage and family therapist, clinical professional counselor, substance abuse counselor, and all the different kind of ones that kind of overlap. I'll be having a short, it'll be like 1 hour presentation on this, so you guys can kind of start preparing for, you know, the future careers you're interested in. That's next week at 5:30. There's the link there. And also, human services field experience orientation. To any human services major in our programs are required to attend field experience orientation. You will start your practicum, presumably if you're completing your first year, and that will be on April 3rd, 11 o'clock in the morning. And if you can't make it, we will record it like we always do and upload it. So just let us know if you need the recording. It'll be, you know, on YouTube. You can usually just search for my name and find it, or GBC Human Services. But if you need a direct link, I'll post those as well. So.
And just so no one is confused, this is now for my students in Nevada State
Yeah,
University.
this is only for GBC students that are majors in human service. So if you're a nursing instructor or excuse me, a nursing major or radiology major or a paramedic or the like, you don't have to come to these. You have your own orientation for that. This is just for human service. I just want to remind you, since we don't always get a lot time to group up like this. So, okay.
Well, thank you, everyone. I send you a huge hug. Enjoy your life. Eat healthy. Love everyone that surrounds you. And I will see you in class.
All right. Good night, everyone.